I'm not sure what that smiley face I just posted in the chat is, but it's giving me some FNAF 2 vibes. Just gonna give people some time to join. In the meantime, I guess I can start clearing up the page a little bit. Hey people. Is the audio coming through okay to you guys? I tried to fix it a little bit since last time, since it came out really low. I tried adding a noise suppression filter, but it just made my voice sound weird through the audio, so at the moment, I'm willing to deal with the static. Okay, great. As I said before, I don't really have a microphone. I'm using the mic from my headphones for this, so we're not super professional here, but at least I know what I'm doing with my art. Okay, so what I did before we started was just rotate this, make sure this was in the correct position. And what I'm going to do now is go on Image, Adjustments, and Threshold. So this is a scan piece that I drew by hand traditionally, and inked there as well. What I do with those is I just use a threshold adjustment for mine, and it lets me make the image into completely black and white. So what I do with that after it's done is I just go through the entire image and make sure I don't need to change anything. Well, almost always need to change something. But at that point I can just use the pencil tool, since it's either completely black or completely white. Oh, you sent the banner for shade? Thanks. I haven't checked the email yet. I was on a walk this afternoon. It was like really hot, and when I got back home, I had to like lie down for a little bit. I'll have to check that out later. I've still got a couple covers to finish here. Right now I'm working on the chapter 3 cover. But after I'm done, I might actually start some emotes. Not tonight, but you know, sometime. I feel like if I want to stream more often, that would be something that could be fun for people following. It's like 100 Fahrenheit here. I'm Canadian. I don't really know what that means. For us, it feels like 40 degrees Celsius, something like that. It was very hot, very unbearable. If you look outside in the distance, you can see the clouds of humidity that just I mean, it's been like that all summer. It means you melt. Yes, that's what it felt like. So with Celsius, it takes into account the temperature of water, because 0 degrees Celsius is when it freezes, and 100 degrees Celsius is when it evaporates. I remember reading somewhere that Fahrenheit is more like the percentage of heat that the body should be able to take, either not officially, but as a trick. You Americans are complicated. Yeah, a little. Oh, shoot. Color picked the wrong black. Yeah, well, I'm sure Canadians have some weird things to Americans as well. Hi, Forest of Fears. And one thing about the covers here is that originally I was going to have a different cat narrate each chapter. Like probably the first mock-up or thumbnail page that I did was Missy knocking the glass of water off the table, but like she was narrating the whole time with the little thought squares. You know the ones. How did I come up with the idea for this comic? I don't necessarily remember. I was a big Warrior Cats fan, and I ended up looking up a lot of different animations for it. And following a couple artists on YouTube that did that while I was in high school, that made me more inclined to use cats as main characters. But when I restarted the story in 2018, I could not really tell you why I picked that one. It was just to have something that I could work on. A lot of the stories I end up publishing are actually just a mishmash of a bunch of stories that didn't make it. Like Endo's from a different story, Tempacross is from a different story. Magiform was rebuilt from the ground up. Everyone got redesigned and got new characters, essentially. I guess it wasn't really getting an idea for the comic, it was just trying to make it work. I guess another reason why I can't really pinpoint when the idea it came up is because I had a lot of brainstorm sessions, because I remade this story from scratch. You loved how Endo was in the latest chapter? Thanks. I like him too. Endo's a bit of a weird case, because, as I've said, he comes from a different story, and that story was a lot more intense than Magiform, because I was in high school and I wanted to be edgy. Now that story's not really happening anymore, I took in Endo and made him kind of more of a goofball. You know, he's still the villain, he's supposed to be threatening, but there are some lines that he crossed in the original that he would not cross now. Oh, shoot, I think... Is this still labeled as birthday stream? Oh no! I need to change that. My birthday was on the 6th. Thanks, Shmee. Okay, Okay, now I don't know how to change this. Okay. Yeah, the program is not agreeing with me right now. How do I change this? My bad, guys. I should have checked. Okay, maybe I can do it midstream if I go on the internet. Happy early birthday. Yeah, that's right. Wait, no, I think I don't want. I don't want to watch my stream. I want to change something about it. Sorry, you'll have to rely on my expert reaction. Yeah, it's a... Photoshop is being a bit still right now. I'm just going to try to manage the stream and maybe change the title. It's probably something you can do. I think I got it. There we go. Okay, that should have changed the name. Maybe it doesn't work on something that's live. Oh no. Okay, there we go. Now we can get back to the thing I was actually doing. You right about to practice violin, Fernshade? Well, it's a good instrument to have. I used to play violin for a little bit. I didn't want to stand up for it though, so only lasted maybe a year. You should practice if you need to. One advantage that I have also when coloring scan pieces means that I can have the piece of paper like right next to me while I work on the computer, and I don't have to open a different screen. I have it right here. Yeah, since different cats were going to narrate different chapters, that was the idea of having a different cat for each cover. But it's also pretty standard. So how's everyone doing in the chat here today anyway? Glad to hear you're doing fine, Fernshade. I exported the previous stream that I did on YouTube, but I'm having a bit of trouble with the account username, so I'll put it off private once I can actually change it to my usual username. You know, just so everyone that missed the stream can actually watch it. One thing that I couldn't save though was the chat log, so I'll have to figure out a way to do that. The idea here for the covers is that everyone who's out of Magiform gets to have the Magiform, the job that would trigger the Magiform behind them. And maybe a little bit about the chapter itself. Chapter 3 was originally going to be like a lot more about Zigzag. She was going to have a heart-to-heart moment with the Vanilla and stuff, and I just didn't really end up doing it. I think at this point in my head, some chapters are more focused on some characters, but I'm trying to do more of a balance with everyone. Hey, Lemon Drop! Is the audio better for you this time around as well? I tried to fix it on the computer. But as opposed to not on the computer? How would I even do that? Yeah, how are you doing, Lemon Drop? Are the cats well? Is this gonna be the joke that we keep going? Is it? Lemon Drop, if we end up kidnapped, we will know who to blame. The balls of demon fluff are appeased. Yes, great. Good to know your cats are good. I mean, fun fact, guys, if you go back to the original Q&A posts, there's a question in which I end up drawing some cats from everyone. Well, not from everyone, that would be a challenge. No, from people I know. And the cat that's constantly screaming, that is one of Lemon Drop's cats. Her name is Astra and she's so special. Yes, she is. Oh, didn't mean to do that line. The next chapter cover is actually not Vanilla or Pumpkin, because I'm having them have one cover together later down the line. I've decided who's on what chapter cover already. And chapter 4 isn't really a spoiler because it would have gone in. It was supposed to have gone in front of the page 1 of chapter 4, so. The chapter 4 cover is Tempakaros, even though, well, he does have a bit of a part to play here, but he doesn't really show up. Yeah, poor Temps, he's kind of stuck. How old is Endo? That's an interesting question. Probably a bit younger than Tempakaros. But they've got to be pretty old. Old enough to drink? Yes. Yeah, okay, Lemon Drop, he's old enough to drink. In terms of character, though, just in terms of how long I've been drawing him, or since I came up with him, he's almost 10 years old. He's a bit younger than the Magiforms, but Tempakaros is the oldest character in here by far. He's very well over 10 years old. Endo is like a bit less than everyone else. But Penelope and the dogs, they were a new addition for this iteration of the comic, so they're the youngest of the gang. They're pretty much all from around 2018. Now I'm just imagining him throwing the mother of all parties at 21. I don't know what the illegal age of drinking would be on his home galaxy or planet, but probably. I mean, Endo is someone who is willing to party or, like, kind of bend the rules for himself, but he is trying to do a good job. Or, like, he's trying to do his job. So, yeah, maybe he threw one heck of a graduation party if they have graduations for getting to plant drops places. One thing I keep forgetting is that I keep talking about the original story he was in, but there was actually one that's even older, and that's where he was from. Now that's something that I could show one day. It's a very, very bad comic that I made in 9th grade. None of the backgrounds work. It's just very, very bad. And that's where he came from. And that's also where a bunch of other characters came from, but those didn't really make the cut. Because Endo just left his own story after seeing that it became a garbage dump, and he's the only one that made it here. He actually had a right-hand commander, or a general, something like that, right-hand person, and her name was Penelope. She's not the same character as the Penelope in the comic, but that is a reference to that. Okay, I think I'm done clearing that up. Now I'm going to do a thing that I didn't do last time, and I'm going to change the color mode to CMYK. That's important to me because I want the colors to be able to print. This way, I make sure that everything is able to be printed, and I get a more accurate picture of what it'll look like printed out. Okay, line art and backdrop. Maybe I can make it a little green because it's zigzag. And that did nothing. Hold on. Multiply. Who would I imagine Endo sounding like a celebrity or an actor or something? That's a tough question because I don't tend to think of headcanon voices for my characters. Or sometimes even voices for them at all. It's weird. When the comic is completed and I'm just rereading it, then I kind of get a sense of what they would sound like, but in the moment I don't really think about it. If you want another fun fact about Endo, though, that harkens back to the original story. That was called Paltico Island, which was very confusing because Paltico in that story was a universe and not an island, so I don't know why I called it that. But anyway, he was the main villain in that one, except his whole deal was it was an evil version of the original Endo. So one song that I really like to think about with him was the confrontation from the Jekyll and Hyde musical. I always imagine Missy with Mabel's voice from... yeah, I guess that fits. And her twin's there with her in the story. That's a good one for a chain. But yeah, so Endo... That's way too thick of a brush size. basically the good version of him was just him without markings, and I understand this is not well conveyed in bright yellow. He's just a fine, upstanding citizen until he decided to take over his homeland and wreck everything for absolutely everyone. Like the second he got those. The second he became an edgy boy. That's the best one I've ever done of him. Oh. Now, if the reason that I didn't end up doing Magiform was just that there wasn't really much of a plot, the reason why I didn't do Endo's story is that it had way too much plot. There were just way too many characters, and not everyone made sense or really had a right to be there. Let's see. Could probably make this lighter, actually. One thing I forgot last time was to add the little streamers in space, because those are a staple of the place under the tree. I wanted to make it more obvious that that's what they're dealing with. I think I'm happy with the color. Now to bring in the stars. It's always a bit of a long process, but it's worth it. I like doing it like this. One headcanon voice that I've seen for Zigzag would be, I forget which one is the female twin in How to Train Your Dragon. It's either Rough Nut or Tough Nut. I forget which one it is. Someone pointed out that that was their headcanon for Zigzag, and I think that's a good one. Oh, I just thought of one. If you guys have seen the Lego movie, Tempacross would be Vitruvius, but Endo would be Lord Business. That's just one off the top of my head. So I just think it's kind of funny. It's actually pretty much sums up the relationship. One thing I could do is try to use different star effects for every cover, but at that point I'd have to commit to finding a different one for every cover. I don't know how many ways you can draw stars. I bet there are as many as there are stars out there. But the Lego Movie reference is spot on. Thank you! I watched that recently. I missed that movie. I still haven't seen the sequel. I've seen Ninjago, well, the Ninjago movie. I've seen the Lego Batman movie. The Lego Batman movie is, I think, one of my favorites, just in general. the Lego movie itself was probably one of my favorite movie-going experiences. Man, back to 2014. My friend and I went to see some random movie, I don't remember which, and in front of that they played the trailer for the Lego movie, and we kind of looked at each other like, there's no way this can be good. But as it came out, it had a Rotten Tomato score of like either 99% or 100%, and we kept calling each other like, there's no way it can be that good. And well, we ended up seeing it, and man, that crowd was awesome. No one could breathe during the spaceship bit. So yeah, it was just one of my favorite movie-going experiences because everyone was so into it. It was a fun experience. It's weird to think now that I just suggested that Temple Rose would be voiced by Morgan Freeman. But that's the go-to though. Every character with a deep voice, you're probably gonna suggest Morgan Freeman. Really, when I'm done with this, I can add some little transparent stars. Just different hues, different levels of having sparkly things behind you. That has different levels. Yeah, I'm not sure if this is going to have a strict schedule, but I am thinking of streaming more often. I'm probably just gonna end up doing this one tonight, but yeah, I still have other covers to do. Just gonna put a cluster of stars here for no reason, because that's how they work. You know, one time when I did something like this, I actually used the noise filter to do the stars, and it came out okay, so I might also do that here. That was for a Patreon exclusive thing. I do a monthly print for people who are in the Magiforms. That's $5 and higher. Not sure if the names will stay once Magiform is over, but I don't know, I think it's cute. I know there's an airbrush tool, but I don't like it. Welcome back, Lemon Drop. I like to add in stars of different colors as well, because stars aren't all the same color. It adds a little bit of pop to the image as well. Just a little bit of yellow there. And I just usually use yellow, pink, and blue. That's enough. Teletubes. What are you guys talking about Teletubbies? watched that when I was younger. That was one of our shows. Okay. Kind of tempted of not having pink ones here, but we'll see how it goes. Just a few then. The zigzag is green, and having too much red could draw the eye away from her. But actually, you know what? More red would make everything contrast. So maybe I'm putting my foot in my mouth. That's happened before. Because as horrid as the memories may be, we must never forget their crimes. What crimes have the Teletubbies committed? Okay, maybe putting a face on the sun was a little extreme, but it does not go against the Geneva Conventions. Yeah, Lemon Drop, the Teletubbies were like maybe 10 feet tall because there had to be people in the mascot suits. And they made the heads like really, really big. I haven't seen what Poe's done. Well, have you? Well, actually, I have. I saw him obliterate Tai Lung, so that was a bit harsh. That was a bit harsh, but Tai Lung needed to learn that the true secret of the Dragon Warrior was to just believe in yourself. That's what I do now. I just dispense movie references. Yeah, Kung Fu Panda is really good. I haven't seen the third one in a while. I've only seen it once. But the first and the second one, still really good. Okay, those are some nice stars. How do I ruin this? Oh, okay. Let's call this layer noise. Yeah, Lemon Drop, when they did that early screening. Did you go? I forget if you went with us. Our school in Toronto had a couple students go to an early screening of Kung Fu Panda 3, and after that there was a panel with, I think, the directors or the writers for it. We didn't actually meet them. We were in the audience, like 35 rows from the front. Okay, let's try putting some noise in here. I forget where you can do that. It's probably in filter. Yeah, there it is. One thing I noticed from going over the footage from the last stream is that whenever I'm doing something off the top menus, you guys can't actually see what I'm doing with the menus. Because the selected area is empty. Okay, let's just put a bunch of white there. There was a magical moment. Yes, it was. Lemon Drop. It actually was. To be in a room watching Kung Fu Panda 3, which is a gorgeous movie, and it's a good animated movie, to be in a room where everyone watching it was either an animation student, or an animation worker, or just stuff like that. Everyone got so sucked into the movie. So it was an experience. It was fun seeing the movie with people like that. Okay. Uniform. Alright. This is looking like sand and static. But if I put in multiply, and I play with the opacity a little bit, it just looks like I textured it. I must have done it wrong. Okay. Let's try this again. Maybe let's make it some blue stars. Oof, yeah, no. Let's put the filter on as quick as we can. Made it like way too big. I don't know what I'm doing. Not monochromatic. Let's do this. Did I write the story for the comic, or am I letting your characters tell the story? Just wondering. Forest of Fears, I wrote it pretty much in advance. The dialogue is where I'd say I'm letting the characters just do what they're gonna do. Okay, I think I got it. It still looks weird though. What did I do last time? Maybe if I expanded it like way too much. That may have made it. What? Okay, I really don't know what I'm doing now. Yeah, I do have the story plan. It's the dialogue that. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to figure this out now. Sometimes you can just stick to your guns, and I can just do the same thing that I did last time, because that's how you improve. You never try anything different. The thing with this brush is it always scares me a little bit when I use it, because it has a lag. I'm just scared that Photoshop will just shut down completely. This is a beast that I have yet to control. Okay, let's try to put that on overlay. Ooh, yeah, that works. Goodbye, noise. Overlay is my new best friend. Yeah, since that works so well, let's do one that's white. Never try anything different, just like Liefeld. Thanks, Lemon Drop, for calling me out. No, I have been trying a lot of different things with Magiform. Just, I've said this before, and also I've read it somewhere else. Don't credit me as this. Your first comic is the comic where you learn how to make a comic. So with Magiform, I learned a lot about coloring in Photoshop just because I had to do it so often. Okay, let's save that. It still looks a little bit weird to me. Maybe if I put that out of overlay. No, it looks better with. No, not multiply. What if I put this in overlay? Do I want the star donut to be like super poppy? Oh, right, I think I remembered what I did. It wasn't just a noise filter, it was also a Gaussian blur filter. feels a little bit better. Let's lower the opacity on this one then. Before the drop, I think I'm going to focus on zigzag. I'll add most of the special effects later. But the stars are important. That's why I'm lowering the opacity like hell right now. I don't know, it doesn't really look right. I don't know what I did this time. Maybe it'll fix itself if I keep working on it. Zigzag's a bit of a seafoam, but usually she's a fine balance of blue and yellow because it really depends on what lighting the scene uses. She's going to be a lot more yellow when it's when the sun's out than when it's not. And since she's pretty pale already, sometimes it becomes complicated to just do her in a neutral setting. Do I have any lighting tips? Okay, well, usually I like to shade with purple. That's just a personal preference, though. One thing that has come in handy is something that I'll use sometime in here, and I've also used last stream, is when you make a shading layer, you can just pick your color. Usually I go with a dark purple, and you can fiddle with the opacity later, but the important thing is that you select everything on the character layer, and you add a mask to it that corresponds with that. So just a way to ensure that none of what you're none of what you're doodling on the shading layer is actually going to go out from the character. It's a lot simpler, and don't think that you won't make a mistake, because you will. I do all the time. Like, there's a line of dialogue that I changed last time, like this update, because the page came out early on Tapas. Oh, no, that's not what I wanted to do. That's the deal. Webtoon, every week when Webtoon updates, Webtoon is a page ahead of Tapas, but Tapas updates 2 pages a week also. So on Friday, Tapas is ahead of Webtoon, but on Monday, Webtoon is ahead of Tapas. So that's how I can catch a line that didn't really land on Tapas, and I can just replace that on Webtoon. And the only people who have to know is the people on Patreon, because for some reason I can't erase the old version of the image. Other than that, for lighting in general, one thing I like to do, or rather that it's not really a hard set rule, but it's a tip that can help with your drawing, is that if the light source is a warm color, your shadows should be a cool color. So let's say there's a stark blue light somewhere. I don't know exactly where that would be coming from. The shadows could be like a warm purple. So just a purple with the more red and yellow in it. I don't always stick to that rule though. Sometimes I just tell myself that I like the purple shading better. Just like the way it looks. So every piece of advice you see about art, just take that with a grain of salt. Figure out what works for you, but also don't be afraid to try different things. They learn about warm blues and just different temperatures of color, I'd say. I learned that from painting class in school, so that was a whole 2 semesters where we had to really see what temperature the color was. It was important because with oil painting, you have to guess the exact color on the first try, basically. Well, maybe not on the first try, but if you mess up, you have to really mix it again, and you might kind of ruin the whole painting. I guess that's another tip. If you're having a hard time deciding on things, do something that'll make it hard to correct a mistake. So if you're being a bit skittish or hesitant with your traditional art, do it with a pen. Doesn't have to be all your drawings, but it does help. And it also makes you better at inking. Let me drop. You busted your leg in... Oh, right. I thought you meant that you did it during the class, and I feel like I would have remembered that. Is that the escalator incident? Man. That was a while ago. Yeah, pretty much 5 years ago, actually. So that class was in first year of the comics program, so it's been about 5 years since I've not graduated, since I started. That was very different. Yeah, I do remember you fell down the escalator. Oh, yikes. I really like drawing Zigzag, because, I don't know, she's like her name, she's just a little zigzag, and it's just fun to draw a character that's really simple like that. Vanilla, I feel, is maybe the hardest character for me, because, don't tell anyone, but her character model is just always off. Zigzag, if I mess up, at least it's a pretty small mistake, I feel. Vanilla kind of, she changed all over the place. Right now I'm kind of committing to one model, but if you look at the rest of the comic, she looks different at different points in time. I think it was a phone call, Lemon Drop. Back then, one of the homework assignments we had to do was daily compositions. That's another thing you can do. if you want to just exercise with your art. Daily compositions is just what it sounds like. You just make a little sketch a day. For us, it had to be something that actually happened most of the time, because they wanted us to draw from memory, but also from real life. And one of the daily comps was from that phone conversation. So sometimes going through the old sketchbooks is really just going down the memory lane, because I just drew a bunch of stuff that happened that day. We had some grand old times. I am thinking that after the covers are done, I might work on some emotes. Not tonight again, but eventually. I can probably do some fan art sometime else. One of the first streams I did on here was for Mystery Dungeon. It wasn't recorded, but I did upload the piece on Twitter. Okay, the tail is done. I don't really like that color much, though. It's probably more blue. Yeah, that works. I don't know what I would do without the polygonal lasso tool. I learned that in class, and then I never forgot. And now I think it's too dark. It's the endless dilemma. It's always the wrong color. Okay, maybe if I take out the yellow then. That's too blue. Maybe the too dark one was the better one. Alright, so now the zigzag is done, I'm thinking I'll be starting on the drop. I think the reason why the background really doesn't look that great is that usually I put in more light effects. So after the drop is finished, that might help a lot with it. Zigzag gets a dream drop. No, it's not the word. It's not how words work. Maybe that worked and it put me more out of it than I thought. I managed to walk to the water, though. That was exciting. But again, it's really hot outside. I do not recommend, if you're in Toronto, do not go outside right now. The drop should be a bright green. It needs to glow. That's a problem I run into sometime with Zigzag whenever she turns back from her Magiform. I had to add the little glowy green effects, and CMYK Photoshop does not really like having glow green. That's way easier to manage if you're working in RGB. So sometimes I have to find the perfect green and also add in maybe a layer of white or something. I need to make her glow. One thing that I haven't seen pointed out with one of the recent episodes is that there are little like glowy sparkles around Endo at one point. One of the recent webtoon episodes. What's up with that? Am I right? One of the things I'm learning with making this comic is that whenever I try to do foreshadowing, it is not as obvious as it is in my head. It's a fine balance of making it too obvious or just completely alienating the audience because you're too close to the project. There are some things that I've had to just really try to lay out and be obvious about because I didn't do a good job with the foreshadowing. Some things worked out better than others, though. One thing that I will admit is a little bit annoying is that a lot of people still... No, what did I do? A lot of people still call Lolo a girl or Zigzag a boy, even though I've tried to make it more obvious that they're not. There's this one comment on Webtoon that went, "Hey, are you gonna make Zigzag and Lolo gay for each other? I think that would be cute." And I could not even tell which one they were wrong about because they get misgendered so often. What things was I obvious about? Wouldn't you like to know? Alright, I'll bite. There's this symbol that's reoccurred a couple times in Magiform, and I hadn't seen people point it out, but that symbol is kind of important. So you see it on the paintings that Vanilla's owner makes. You see it other places, but then no one pointed out that symbol anywhere, even though I tried to put it in different places. There's literally a panel in chapter 4 where I make the symbol the background of the panel. And I still had to put it in the description. Oh, wow, where have we seen that before? Now, what the symbol means is something that will come later. It's just that the existence of the symbol, I was trying to make it more obvious. Oh, you wondered about the paintings? Yay! Thank you for doing that. Okay, and now time to add another layer of white. Or off-white, sue me. Yeah, the paintings do come back. Or at least what's on them. One thing that was tough for me, and I will admit that was a bit obtuse, was that I had to tell the audience what the drops were about, because I'm the author. I know exactly how they work. But when you make something that's kind of a convoluted plot device, you have to explain it, because otherwise, of course, people won't understand what the stakes of the story are. But I don't like doing exposition. I feel like it slows down the story. Whenever I write something that's not a comic, like a prose or something, I actually have a hard time doing descriptions because I feel like I'm wasting time. And usually I'll just put them places where I feel like the story needs to slow down. So, when I did an exposition about what drops are, I made it a long scroll episode with a completely different style. If I was going to have an exposition scene, it was going to be the exposition scene. Okay, maybe if I overlay. That's my trump card. Sometimes I just pray that overlay will work. See, that's already white, so it should be... I don't want it contiguous. Maybe say this is white. Okay, it does look different. I did this. Okay, and now bright green. Bright forest green. We're in Rainforest Cafe now. Probably lower the opacity in a bit. Just want to make sure that everything's got a little bit of bright green. This is the lime flavored kitten. Little Mountain Dew kitty. Maybe I should add another layer like that. We can put that on overlay. When nothing else works, pray to overlay. Well, that turned it yellow. Do I want that? What hard light? Always fun to add a little bit of white in there. The straws basically they're the same material as glass in terms of texture. So they got a little bit of shine to them. But then they glow, like they're their own light source, so that makes it kind of weird sometimes. guess a concept for Magiform, just the powers, is something else that happened in high school. That series was like really abandoned. 2 characters that are from there are going to pop up sometime else, but they're not that important. Okay, so now that we're done with the drop, we can actually have a gradient. I just want this to be around the drop and not zigzag, because it's only the drop that's glowing. Okay, that looks good. Now I can add something that's a little bit lighter, maybe. No. I feel like this isn't great enough, but it's not part of zigzag, so we can lower the opacity on that. Is this? I think I need to use something from this one. Okay, that's a lot clearer. I'd say we're almost done here. I might play more with the effects and add the space streamers. That's what I like to call them, the random little colorful ribbons that pop up. But for now, we just got to shade zigzag. I'm using the magic wand tool here. Make sure contiguous isn't selected, so it's going to select any area that's the color you want. And the color I want right now is none. So everything that's not colored is going to be selected. Now I'm just going to inverse the selection. Now everything on the character layer has been selected. All of zigzag selected. I'm going to put a mask on a layer, and let's just pick something cool here. Dark green. Not sure if I want to set that to multiply yet. We'll see how it goes. But if I take a big brush, bam, only zigzag. I think I do want to set it to multiply. How's that look? I'll deal with the opacity now, I think. Maybe a little bit more. Okay, let's reel back the size. I think I'll zoom in for this. Make sure everything's going according to Keikaku. Look at me and my old Death Note references. The fun part is when you get to color everything. Because suddenly things start to look good. In any kind of painting, digital or traditional, usually the same principles apply. It's just about building up the thing. So that's why I usually start with backgrounds. Because smaller things count as details. So you want to make sure the whole piece works before, focusing on the face, and then suddenly nothing else works. You don't want to ruin all the hard work you did on the face. Just do that as dessert. I mean, shading is not a dessert, but the way it looks afterwards sometimes is. I like the way things look. I think it is a bit too dark. Maybe I'll add another layer afterwards. Lower the opacity on this one, and then, I don't know, add more deep shading on the other one. The pose I've picked for zigzag is a little bit tricky lighting wise. I think I got it. How long is the story and universe? That's a bit complicated. We're in chapter 4 now, and in my head it's maybe been a couple weeks to a month. It's kind of a short story. The one caveat, well, I'm not sure if I'm using that word correctly. The one problem, I guess, is that Lolo and Missy are stated to be, I think I said they were 3 months old. So the more time that passes in universe, like, they should be growing really fast, because they're kittens, and there's a big size difference. So that's just one thing that I don't address. And there is a bit of a time skip that's supposed to happen in the epilogue, though, so maybe I could age them up a little bit for that. Yeah, in total, the story not counting the epilogue, that's, I'd say, the same time span, couple weeks to a month. Again, it's a short story. Seems like I missed a spot there. They will be forever young. Yes, Frenchie, they will be forever young. Well, they'll grow old eventually. My mouth did not want to say that. Maybe because it's forbidden. I did draw Lolo, Missy, and Zigzag as adults in the last Q&A though, so those designs exist. Let me fix that area then. Okay, I think I will be lowering the opacity on that. Oh, good for you, Fernshade. Practice the violin if you need to. Music instruments are, well, yeah, they're a fun hobby to have. I was gonna say important. They're not for everyone, but they're fun to play. I have a piano. I like to play piano. And I played clarinet mostly in high school, but I do still have it with me. Lemon Drop, you hate to make this joke, but she's got the Mountain Dew drop. Sucks to be you. I already made that joke. She's got the Mountain Dew. She's our elite gamer kitty. Her uncle, her mom's work at Nintendo. That's how she gets all the hacks, and she's the one who got Mew 3, and she's her mom's work at the Bakugan factory. So if you give her your transparent Dragonoid now, the next day she can bring you the ultra secret rare Wyvern one. Sorry, that's an extremely specific playground experience. No, she's Mountain Dew, or she's lime flavored. Missy's probably Code Red, because she's red, and also she's prone to cause Code Red situations. And then I stop because I have no more knowledge of Mountain Dew flavors. Though there was, apparently, there was an experimental flavor that never made it to shelves, but was taste tested, called Dewitos. And it is sadly what it sounds like. It is Mountain Dew flavored to taste like Doritos. And I hate to say it, but I'm extremely curious as to how it must have tasted like. I wish I actually could have tasted it. Because it's so weird. Alternatively, there's also a Doritos product that is flavored like Mountain Dew, so it goes both ways. You can get your ultimate gamer snack. feel like I have tried the Mountain Dew flavored Doritos. They were probably all right. Like if they were really bad or really good, I feel like I would have remembered it. Okay, we're gonna set another layer to multiply and do the same trick with the character again. Inverse, and then we're gonna put the mask here. One thing I could also do is play with transfer brushes, but I don't really want to. Right now I'm just coloring the areas that they don't necessarily make a lot of sense, but they just look good to me. You gotta obey the rules sometimes, but at some point you can kind of trust your gut. And I can't really do that with everything. With backgrounds, I still have to look up a lot of reference. Art Journeys is just slowly getting the hang of everything, and then you die. Because you're not going to get the hang of everything in one lifetime. There's so much out there. I think I'm going to leave a little gap here. Motivation talks with Emily. Just work on your art. Probably going to lower the opacity of that one too. I don't want it to be too much of a contrast to the other shading layer. Okay, now for the fun part. I get to just not do any strokes. I feel like if this indicates cast shadows, I should do something about Zigzag's head. Because she does have a big head. Well, it's a big floofy head. Most of it is fluff. If she got wet, it would probably all droop down and she would have like a normal skull underneath. It's kind of like a Pomeranian when it's taking a bath. It's 90% floof. Tempercurls is also about 90% floof, except all the floof is stored in the neck. And Pumpkin, well, she's a big floof ball, but she's also big under there. Like, she doesn't melt when she gets wet. I think I'm just going to do a little bit more here. Not too much. I'm not really a render person. Usually I just lay a lot of flats and a lot of layers until something clicks. I need to do more painting studies though. That's how you get better. Honestly, the joke with the Mountain Dew, it was kind of a meme in our class because there was a portion of us that listened to the Be More Chill musical, and they used Mountain Dew as a plot point several times during the show. I never really got involved in the fandom, but I did listen to it. I really like musicals. Apparently I could only go 2 streams without mentioning it. That seems good. I'm still not really proud of that back though, so maybe something like this. One artist that I've seen that is really good at laying like different layers of shadow is Cyphero or Cyphero. I follow them on Twitter. So they do a lot of Pokemon fan art, and I don't know, I really like the way they color it. I think the problem here is I can't really decide what this layer of shadow represents versus the other one. I think it's just the place where things get darker, and sometimes that's enough. In the chapter 2 image, Missy had a little bit of the beach in the background. And chapter 3, not much not much is shown here, I guess. But I guess if I put in the streamers again, I can revive it. So they go talk to temps, I feel. Well, no, they don't actually. No, chapter 3 they do. I got it confused with chapter 4. It's a bit bright, but I can fix that in post. It's very important that I put in the streamers, though. I like the streamers. Little party streamers. What's fun with the streamers, though, is that I can have fun with the way they're arranged in the panel, because they're not supposed to be uniform in every panel. They're supposed to be constantly moving. They're kind of like that one screensaver on Windows. So if people are having a conversation, I can play with the streamers in a way that I don't know, complements the conversation, I guess. Let's have a purple one. But, yes, I need to make little laser sounds. It's part of the process. I think we're almost done here. I'm still not super happy with the light aspect of the lighting. And the stars are still bugging me. What did I do last time? I think it maybe just comes back to the color. Okay, that is definitely different. I'm just seeing how this looks on the stream. See if it looks better. Yeah, it's coming out as like way too purple. It's almost as if I exported this out of CMYK and put that as a JPEG, and then the colors get wonky when you do that. JPEGs do not like CMYK. Okay, and maybe I can do this then. Bit of a lighter blue, but it's fun. And okay, if I use a purple here, wrong way. I feel like this works better. Yeah, there we go. Maybe it's the stars. For some reason, they're not really that great in this one. A size variation, I feel, would help with that. I think it is the background that's bothering me. I need to figure out why, so I can fix it. I can rebuild it. Okay, a bit more yellow then. We may be back where we started, but I feel like this works. And maybe if I had a couple gradients, just a couple white gradients, just to be little stars, that could help. No! I have to reduce the opacity on that, but I feel like this is working. Oh, and it highlights the noise filter. Well, no, the brush. Oh, there we go. Okay, that looks a lot better. Now let's mess with the background again, because my work is never done. Okay. I think another problem I have with this is that zigzag doesn't pop out enough. Which is the central focus of it, but the drop is clearly the thing that's glowing. And then you've got the rest of the space stuff behind her that doesn't make her super obvious. With Missy, it was obvious because she contrasted a lot with the drop because it was like right behind her. So maybe if I make things a little bit darker in the background, set that to multiply, okay. Just in areas around zigzag maybe, or I feel like that's working. That will definitely look different on print though. Okay, I think this is a lot better. And now the streamers. Ah, the streamers. What if overlay? Not that bad actually. But also not necessarily what I wanted. Maybe if I dissolve? No. Come join me next time where I'll be debating on different settings again. This is my life now. Well, that looks a lot different on this stream than it does on my monitor. Even maybe my phone is just weird. Okay, let's go back to that multiply layer, and I'm going to... It works better if... Maybe it's somehow because I'm working in CMYK. I really don't know. The streamers are looking okay, it's just that everything in here is more detailed than it usually is in the comic, so the streamers kind of stick out. So maybe they just need a little boost. So I'm going to copy that and just paste it onto another layer. But Photoshop is not liking this file size. How did it get to 300 megabytes? Or at least to work on that. Alright, I'm going to apply filter then. Okay, yeah, that works. Makes them a little bit shiny. Alright, I think that's it. Well, thanks for joining the stream. I'll be ending it in a few. So this is what the Chapter 3 cover is gonna look like. The title is gonna go up on the top. So I think I'm going to end up like darkening this area so the text is a little bit clearer. But other than that, that's what this is. So yeah, thanks for joining the stream. I don't know necessarily when I'll be back with another one, but it should be soon. And when that comes, I think I'll just be working on some more covers. Does this work better if this is under or over? We'll just leave it like that. Yeah, thanks for hanging out in the stream, and I'll see you next time, whenever that is.